A dichotomy of urban meets rural. Just a short trip from the M25 and my home in central London, this was to be my venue of choice when I found myself with the 24 hours spare. As you enter the lake, the wall of trees surrounding it kill out the sound of the M25. Soon, the birdsong takes over and you're absolutely captivated by this marvellous old lake. This lake is home to arguably some of the nicest looking fish that you can find in the Colne Valley, and with 24 hours at my disposal, I intended on getting amongst a few of them. A lot of the anglers were off the back of the wind, so we're in the north, east and west corners of the lake. I found myself wandering down to the south, where the wind was blowing to, but what I hoped was in one of the bays the fish would be taking refuge from this wind and the angling pressure, and I might be able to get amongst a few of them. I arrived on an area known as River Point. The northeasterly wind was actually having no effect on the bay that was over to my right, and with the sun shining down on it, it wasn't long before I spotted a few fish. The great thing about this point here is that it also affords me an opportunity to see right the way around the lake, so therefore, if the fish move or the angling pressure is relieved, I can then move on to those fish.
Well YouTube, welcome back, and look at that. We're kicking off the vlog today in style. That is 26 pounds there of Thorney Weir mirror, and yeah, I've been here about three hours now. Found myself with a couple of days off work that I didn't realise I was going to have before I go to Norton, and decided I wanted to try somewhere new, so I'm waiting on some bait being delivered, so I needed to spend my time around London, and yeah, thought I'd come down to Thorney Weir. So this came to a crack and pop-up, I've trimmed down to be a wafter, and chucked quite a lot of bait out. I put about 250, 300 boilies out there, a mixture of kraken and allergy, and yeah, that rod's been out maybe about an hour on that spot, no more, and this is the culprit. 26 pounds, not a bad way to open up the account for this session. Let's hope we can produce many more of these this evening. I'm absolutely buzzing, as you can probably tell. Right then, I'll take some stills and then we'll get it back.
It's safe to say I wasn't expecting to get a fish so early on into the session, and at mid-20s I was absolutely buzzing. From here the action didn't stop and my night turned into a rather sleepless one.
So it's coming up about 2 o'clock now, and yeah, left hand rod's away again. Another lovely mirror, and covered in leeches this one. Get rid of these leeches first, because I hate them. We're going to go mid-20s. Let's see. 26, that's 23, so nearly mid-20s. What a fish. Thank you very much. Let's take a look at him. Hopefully the camera can pick him up in this light, because one of my camera torches has died. There you go. 23 pounds of yeah, Thorney Weir mirror. Look at that. One of my camera lights has died, so I'm running on one, which isn't great, but it's going to be light in a couple of hours, so not too much of a worry. Happy. There you go. 20. Whew, she's gone all stiff again. 23 pounds of Thorney Weir mirror. Look at that, lovely. Thank you very much. Another victim to the kraken. Fished over spread of boilies. About 300 boilies out there, and I topped up last time after this last fish with 75 boilies. I'll do the same now. Awesome, let's get it back.
After losing a few more fish to hook pulls, I got up first thing in the morning just after first light to scan the water. One of the fish caused quite a disturbance in the swim, so I was concerned that it might have pushed the other fish off. After scanning the water for a while, I noticed that there were still a few fish lingering around in the area. Hopefully, the lost fish from earlier on hadn't ruined my chances, and before I was to pack up and leave, I'd be able to get into at least 1 or 2 more fish. After spotting these fish around my spot, I decided to top up with around 50 or 60 baits scattered around to try and keep them in the area. It was then a matter of returning back to the peg, sitting on my hands and just watching the rods, hoping that eventually one of them would produce a fish. Luckily, whilst I was doing this, there was enough scenery and wildlife there to keep me occupied until the rods eventually ripped off.
Well, ladies and gents, look at this for a banger. It's coming up midday now, and the right hand rod tipped off again on the crack and pop up, and this is exactly what you come to Thorney Weir for. Absolute banger. Look at those apple slice scales on the other side here, which I'll show you in a second. But yeah, crack and pop up in a solid bag from Bosch Baits again. It's doing the business. Fraction over 20. Scales say 23, but with a wet sling they weigh around £3. But to be honest, not to coin a phrase that's used too much, but when they look like this, when they look like this, does it really matter? She's lively because he has been resting in the sling. Just let us see this side of you because you're amazing. There we go, look at that. Hopefully that's catching in the sunlight, and we'll just stop and get a couple of stills for some pictures.
By now it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I still had a good 4 or 5 hours left on my ticket. At this point the lake was starting to get busier and busier, and a couple of guys entered my swim. Whilst I was talking to them, I had a double take, but unfortunately had hook pulls to both. I got the rods back out on the spot, but saw that gradually the lake was getting busier and busier with more people coming for the weekend. It was at this point that I made the decision that actually I'd had a really good session fishing karma. I'm about to do a long weekend at Norton Disney, so I'll leave this peg now, I'll head home, allow someone else to pit their luck against the fish in this lake. Well YouTube, that's it until the next Norton Disney video. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, remember to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the very near future.